Hello, everybody, and welcome to the marketing and product track. We were just giving everybody a couple more minutes there just to make sure that everybody is in the room. We've got quite a few. I said marketing and product. We had marketing and product yesterday. So sorry. We're now in the career track. It's just the same one. We've just switched over today. And we're very lucky today to be joined by Dr. Rashmi Narayana. Dr. Rashmi, if you would like to bring yourself up on stage. And she's going to talk with us today about managing imposter syndrome effectively. So really, really looking forward to this one. Hi, Rashmi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Perfect. So I'm going to turn off my camera and microphone now and let you get started. Really looking forward to this. So enjoy, everybody. Thank you.
Okay. So, I think I don't know how to share my screen. Is it? Hold on, everyone. Just getting used to this.
No worries. So if you just go into present mode, there we are.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
So can everybody, you can see the things, Nicole, yeah?
I can see that, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So hi, everyone. I'm Rashmi, and I am a psychiatrist by training. However, I have made my way through various industries, which I will talk about it in a moment. And imposter syndrome is something which is very close to my heart because I've struggled with it, still do tend to struggle with it at times, but also have helped and seen so many of my friends and colleagues struggle with this as well. So I feel quite passionately about this. So a bit about me, I started off as a medic. I didn't want to be a doctor. So I come from a very typical South Asian family, where you either become a lawyer, a doctor, or an accountant, and if you're an engineer as well. So you can't do anything else. So I wanted to do journalism, but they said that there's no money in that. You got to do medicine. So that's what I did. I quite quickly kind of, went through, got my MD in psychiatry and didn't like it at all. So I just moved to the American Red Cross. I didn't like the hospital setting. So I worked in disaster zones for a bit, then moved to London and worked in academia in various kind of universities in London. I thought I should be doing my PhD, but that didn't work out. And then I moved to research management, which was quite interesting. That's where I really felt that it really challenged me in terms of managing teams, etc. And there I started seeing people struggling with, oh, is this right? Is this not right? Even though they were very, very competent. Around the same time, when I was trying to move into industry, I think now looking back, it was a lot of things, but definitely a high level of imposter syndrome kicked in. I used to be paralyzed by fear and worry about whether I'm going to do things right or not. And I got into therapy. And this will come back into the story later as well as I take you guys along the whole thing. And that really opened up my eyes into what were the various layers which were playing into this anxiety that I was feeling. Then I moved into tech. In the last 8 years, I've been in health tech in various roles. There I started using coaching to manage my team in my last company and found some fantastic results. And I started getting coaching myself because I felt that it was a very fast growth startup and I was finding it hard to just manage everything that was happening. And that really transformed the way I managed my people, I managed my life, etc. And now I'm just about to be certified as a coach. So that's been my journey. And the imposter syndrome has been my friend throughout. So this was the original kind of research which brought up this entire concept in the 70s, late 70s. And it was mainly done among, it was done by clinical psychologists on women. So quite high achieving academic women. And at that point, they thought that it was mainly affecting women. But this is what it came up. This was the definition which they said. And so the key thing is I've highlighted believe and belief. And we will come back to this. So this is a belief. It's a thought that people have that they are either not intelligent enough, they don't have enough skills or competence. So there is a continuum, and the Clance, the same two clinical psychologists who came up with the concept, they also have a scale. It's available online. Due to various kind of intellectual property reasons, I can't put up a link here, but you can Google it and see it's quite easily available. And there it's on a continuum, basically. So you can have occasional worry that you're not up to the task, meaning to say it's not crippling, And it's quite normal, actually. Like, suppose, if I was not a bit anxious coming to this to this talk today, that would be a bit odd. So that's fine. Versus full-blown fears of being found out, where you're completely paralyzed. It plagues you. You're not putting yourself forward for promotions, for events where you could promote yourself, or you're not taking decisions like, this job is not working for me, I need to leave this job. So those kind of things, it starts really hampering your life. And like I have said below there, so it can be a new milestone, both in your professional and personal life. So it's quite important to recognize this, because usually when imposter syndrome is spoken about, it's seen as a very much a career and a work thing, but it could be just at the completion of a degree, or you're starting a venture, you become a parent, you get married. It can be so many big events in life that can just trigger this whole, this feeling. Very common. At least 70% of adults in the US and the UK have felt it at least once over the lifetime. And the middle section where I've said 62% of adults, that is in the last 12 months. So the question was, in the last 12 months, have you felt like as if you were an imposter? So there was 62% of that. And you can see the range of different sectors. It's a huge kind of list, and I'm happy to share the link for this research if anybody is interested. So it's quite high, as you can see. And another independent research from on tech companies such as Salesforce, Uber, Deliveroo, all these big companies, there they found that it was 58% of tech employees also report this. And there was one or two very interesting anecdotes from there, where even after 10 years in tech, quite senior male engineers reporting that they feel quite, as if they were not ready for the job. I'll spend a bit of time on this slide. It's a bit of a heavy slide, so bear with me. So this is how imposter syndrome can become more and more complex. So like I said at the start, initially it was thought that only women have it, but now it's, men also struggle with it. Still, there is a kind of a bias towards women more, but not that much. So then all the various lenses start coming up. Sexual orientation. So there is enough data, especially from universities, where gay and lesbian and bisexual people in the university thing, they feel quite isolated, because the things that they like to pursue, the electives that they take in their graduate studies, is quite different to the rest of their peers, and they feel quite they feel as if they're very isolated and not part of the group, and they start thinking, am I fit to be here? And like a diversity hire in the next section, which I talk about, this is like a diversity admission. So, have they just taken me because, I'm just they need one token person in this kind of a cohort. So that's another thing which kicks in. Now, race, and I've said subset migration because, I'm a migrant to this country, so it's close to my heart. And again, there's a lot of data suggesting, but Asian American, African American, Asian, there are different kind of lenses that are put on them. So for Asian American, it's quite common to say that, they're very nerdy, they're really conscientious at work, and they will do very well. And actually, it kickstarts an imposter kind of feeling for the students who are in this group, and even at workplace as well, where they're seen as, they really stick to the rules and they're very work hard. So they feel very hard to be doing something different. So they always need to be, towing the line, the party line, so to say. African American, they think like, they're not very good at studies, so you're definitely you have a diversity hire here. So they struggle with that. And migration is interesting as well, because I remember when I came to this country initially, I met another South Asian professor, and he said, Rashmi, you have to work 6 times harder than a white woman who is born here. And I was like, why is that? Because you're a woman, first of all, so you're working double. Then you are, you're a woman of color, and then you're a migrant. And at that point, I thought it was, he was being very sensible. And I was like, yeah, of course I can do it. I can work hard, so, and then you kind of get into this overworking, which I will come to later as well. Social class. Now, this is something which, frankly, I never engaged with well into my 30s, that's such a prevalent thing that, private education, even in India, here, across the world, I think. So here, only 7% of the UK's population has been privately educated. However, 65% of senior judges and even the current cabinet, they're all privately educated. So you can see the disparity between, the social class they're playing out. So private education as a proxy for social class. So that's something else which kicks in. So if you're in a very elite, elitist kind of profession, and then suddenly you are the only person who is not fitting into that because you went to a state school. That can kick off an imposter syndrome as well. Now, personality is huge, especially I think in startups, because extroverts are generally rewarded with leadership positions, etc. So if you're an introvert, it's generally seen as, she's a bit difficult, she's a bit quiet, a kind of thing. Or you may have anxiety already. So if you're in a startup or in a fast-moving environment, then it again amplifies your anxiety. Now, the interesting thing about introverts is, and I was digging into this a bit more this week, is that there's a big piece of research that has, which is not quoted enough, is that at the CEO level, actually introverted CEOs perform better than extroverted CEOs because they listen more, they kind of delegate much better, more kind of diversity of ideas comes into the product and the rollout of the product as well. So that was really interesting. Now, family, this is also not very spoken about enough, is the family you come from. Is how much emphasis was there on achievement, and what was the emphasis on how much control was there on your life. Like, control, I mean, not in an abusive sense, although it could be that as well, but it's more in terms of, like, in my life, you have to do 1, 2, or 3. These are your kind of career paths. This is what you should be doing. And on achievement, especially, this I found very interesting is when there's a lot of alternating between a lot of praise. Oh my God, you're brilliant. You're the best kind of, the best daughter I could have. And the next moment, suppose if you don't do very well, you're like, oh, you didn't work hard enough. So it's like kind of that you just get confused between the praise and the criticism. So keep all these things in mind as we go along. And so this is Alexandra Wilson. Many of you might already know about her. This book, which has become a bestseller, has just come out. So she's a mixed race barrister from Essex, and she's gone to all the top schools. She's got all the top scholarships. And I was reading her book last week, and I thought the second part, she says, this materialized as feeling like a fraud, that one day I was going to get found out. It really kind of, stayed with me. So I think there's something we need to acknowledge that, even though you are in a very elite profession, it can still kind of catch you out. So this is what is known as an imposter cycle. And this was again built up by, proposed by Clance, and now it has been adapted a bit. So I've adapted it a bit more for our talk here today. So the trigger usually for an imposter kind of situation is a task, a deliverable, or a situation. A situation could be a personal situation. For example, you're in a bad relationship and you need to leave, but you're just, kind of feeling that, oh, who am I to do this? This person is really good. He's too good for me, or she's too good for me, that kind of thing. Versus a task. For example, you've suddenly been asked to take 3 junior kind of members of staff under your wing, and you're supposed to manage them. So those kind of things. And then what happens is it immediately, as soon as that situation comes in, your view and your standards kind of, start, that process starts in your brain. So your view is, my view will be what I believe others expect of me. And then my standards are my assessment of how I am doing. And for an imposter, immediately the fear of failure and self-doubt kick in. And this is can go in one of 2 ways. So first, I'll take the perfectionism and overwork thing. So the perfectionism is, it's in the word, where you are kind of really going through all the minute details. It's never finished till the last minute. You have to do that piece of work at the cost of, let's say, your health, your social life, and things like that. You postpone everything else for the sake of this bit. And then you, of course, do it. You have worked so hard, you deliver it. And then your boss or whoever says, very good, you did it, it's success, it's positive feedback, you feel much better, lighter. But the way you interpret it is not that you did a good job. You'll think that, yeah, I worked so hard, therefore I did it, and I wonder whether I can work that hard always. So it's unsustainable. Basically, you can't work that hard each and every time. So because you interpret it that way, you suddenly discount it, because it's not because you are good, it's because you worked very hard. So you kind of completely discount it. And then again, you go back. So that is one part of the cycle. And then you have poor boundaries and your life and health suffers. So this, I'm sure all of us, feel this at times. So always remember on the continuum, where do you fall? If you do it occasionally to deliver a project, that's not imposter syndrome. But if this is the story of your life, then you're likely struggling with it. So there was a period in my life, in my last job, where I was definitely in this in this bracket, and it played havoc with my sleep and my health, everything. And there is, these kind of things. And I think for me, it was the working long hours, and there were impossibly high standards that I set for myself. And they were moving goalposts for me, but also in my work. So that kind of literally played into it. And then the next thing you could be doing, if this happens in the same cycle, is you could start procrastinating. There's intense self-doubt. So here you kind of just say, there is there's a application due, or something you have to present something on, say, Monday, and you will kind of be dipping in and out of it, and by Sunday you're panicking, yeah. And then Sunday you're doing an all day. Instead of relaxing and doing other things, you're just sitting and working. You do an all-nighter. You're just like saying, oh my God, how am I going to do it? But then you do it. And then again, you get a feedback. Oh yeah, it was a very good presentation. Well done. And then the way you interpret it is, oh, I didn't put in enough effort, so it's due to luck. I'm just winging it. So that's how you discount it again. And then this is, as you can imagine, it plays both perfectionism and procrastination plays havoc with your nervous system and your body. But I think procrastination especially, it's very high intense stress over like a very short period of time. And so that can, literally play havoc with your health. And the other very interesting thing which research shows is that you're prone to self-sabotage. So for example, that you have to work. First of all, you're postponing. You have to work on a Sunday, and then you do an all-nighter on a Saturday with your friends. You just go to the pub, have a great time, go to clubs, etc. And then Sunday, you're again like, you're working, but you're so stressed out. So you self-sabotage, or you come late for an interview. You kind of don't send in that application on time, those kind of things. And the story there, you'll wonder why we are doing it is, and I have done this in my life as well, is that, I would have done better. I'm capable actually, but I didn't do it. So that's the story we tell ourselves. I didn't give myself enough time, but actually I'm good. But the reality is that I am plagued by failure and self-doubt. So how does procrastination look? Avoiding difficult situations, struggling to be assertive, failing to ask for help. You can see the list there, right? We blame others. And you kind of always want to stay under the radar. And this, I think quite a few women definitely tend to do this, where we won't put ourselves forward from a promotion. We are constantly kind of rereading the room, wondering whether what we, will we come across a certain way, etc. That kind of thing. And then we tend to work below our level of competency. So that's really sad. So now let's look at some steps. I want to leave some time for quick questions as well. So one is acknowledging that this exists, and then choosing to let go. And it's much harder than you think, because letting go feels like a loss, right? And change is really daunting, both for you and your brain. We might feel reluctant to admit that we are wrong because we're so wedded to the idea. And most importantly, it does seem to bring us advantages. Oh, it makes me work harder. I can aim higher. I can do better. But in reality, it doesn't last. So the key thing to remember is that it's a thought. And so your belief is a thought, and your belief about yourself is like a prejudice. If somebody says, oh, women are not as good at maths as men, then that's a prejudice, even though data proves otherwise. But then first thing is, you need to understand that, okay, I want to believe that women also are good in maths. So that's the main thing, is you have to believe that you can get out of this thinking that you're an imposter. So check in with your body, like when this overwhelm and this overwork comes up, where do these feelings reside in your body? For me, it's in my neck and my shoulders. So for different people, it's different things. Many of my clients say in their stomachs and their chest. So kind of try to have a trigger where you say, oh, I'm feeling this way. It's very important. Externalize your imposter voice, so try to separate this thought which you have that you're a failure, you're this, you're that, as a creature, a person, or someone ridiculous you can laugh at. For me, it's an uncle of mine. I just say, I call him by his name and I just say, no. I've done things like take him outside, literally, physically take him outside the room, figuratively, and keep it out. That's what my coach asked me to do, and it did work. And then thoughts aren't facts. So remind yourself that there is more than one perspective, right? So it's not just that you're a failure or you're not good enough. Then you do have to ask yourself, what's the evidence for this? Will it stand up in a court of law? What else could be going on here? Is there other people's nonsense, their drama coming into my life here? Do I have any experiences that show a different view? So definitely keep an email folder or a text folder or a notes or something on your phone of praise, of goodwill from your friends, from your family, from your colleagues. It really does help when you're feeling bad, just to say that, oh, actually, I did this. I did do something very well. Reach out to others. So again, colleagues you trust, friends in other industries. Talking is so important, because there's so much shame around this this imposter kind of feeling. Therapist or coach if you're really struggling. Online groups that welcome supportive and welcome diverse views. I'm currently in the upfront membership. I highly recommend it. It's very safe. It's lovely. Women's confidence group. And then acknowledge that you can't control everything. Like trying to control takes a lot of work and a lot of energy, and we take on too much responsibility, a lot of which doesn't belong to us. And this one is, again, self-compassion over self-criticism. I'm a big proponent of this as well. So self-criticism, think of a coach yelling at you in a fitness boot camp with a fixed train routine, like shouting at you and really berating you for not working hard enough. And self-compassion is a coach who personalizes a fitness program and supports you through the ups and downs. So this, I'm kind of, if you can send me your emails, I'll send you some of these things, because we have 5 more minutes. But it's mainly the core of this is that you kind of acknowledge that you're stressed, and you give yourself less of a hard time, and you just don't kind of keep yourself under that stress repeatedly. So this is the recap. And managing overworking, some of the tips here is you make yourself a priority, set boundaries at work, and these are things which take time, but it's also important. If somebody asks you something, just think, what can I do? I really need to do this, try to delegate and try to keep your diary, keep like fixed times for, self-care in your diary as well. For procrastination, try to visualize the end. Yeah. Consciously manage your distractions, because when you are anxious and you're procrastinating, you're constantly, distracting, and, from risk averse to stretching your comfort zone as well. And yeah, this one, if you are a woman, remember, it's going to be harder for you. If you are in the LGBTQ community, it's probably going to be a bit more harder. If you're from a different race, a bit more harder. So these are the, things which, if it is feeding into your version of imposter syndrome, please be extra patient with yourself and be more compassionate to yourself. So this is my last but one slide. I know it's very complex. Again, I'm happy to send it to you as a thing, where all the green bits are the tips that I gave you. So, the whole thing is you acknowledge the self-compassion is an over-encompassing concept. And then, I won't say much. You guys can have a quick read through it. But the main thing, what happens is in the last 2 boxes is your interpretation has to change and will change to I did my best and it was good enough. And then you acknowledge success and positive feedback, and you go back to taking on more things.
Hi, Rashmi. And sorry to cut you off there. We only have a couple of seconds left, and then I think we're going to need to cut off now and switch into the other room. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. And I just wanted to say, if Michelle Obama just still feels it, then, we are all in good company.
100%. Thank you so much, Rashmi. Yeah. That was excellent. Really enjoyed it. Everyone, I'm now going to switch this off. You've got a couple of minutes to change rooms, so head off to whichever track you like, and we will see you soon. And again, massive thank you to Dr. Rashmi Narayana.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.